Hey, have you ever wondered why is the absolute worst color in competitive EDH by far the most played in casual settings? If you're anything like me, then playing a strict control game at a table full of friends just kind of feels like a slog. I completely understand it in one-on-one formats, but like at a table full of friends, having that strict level of resource control and everything just kind of takes the spirit out of the game for me. That's not to say that everyone is like me, though. If you do enjoy playing Control at a table full of 4 friends, then thanks for watching my channel, Krim. I really like your videos. But for real, though, as I've continued to get into this game more and more, my unmitigated rage at blue players has subsided. At least a little bit. And I've realized that the fickle nature of using the stack as your only source of hard removal is kind of finicky, actually. Other pieces of the color pie are just so much better at spot removal in other ways. Rather than having to commit mana before a threat comes down, you can just wait for it to resolve and get rid of it before it's a problem most of the time. For example, black is good at removing creatures and planeswalkers, white is good at removing enchantments and exiling things entirely, red is good at removing artifacts and your life points, I guess, and green, could you get the fuck out of here? Okay, fine. So green gets to break the color pie rules all the time. It has a lot of versatile effects as long as you're willing to play them at sorcery speed or to attach them to a creature, which is the most destructible type of card in the game. It's just way too slow for competitive play most of the time. The ability to flash thing in on your opponent's turns, disrupting their plans instantly and getting around summoning sickness is just too strong when compared to green's play pattern of tapping out on your turn and then waiting around for 3/4 of the game. Wait, hold on. Did you hear that? Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me!
You disappoint me, young snake. The moment you close your eyes on the battlefield is the moment you never open them again. That's why I don't sleep here.
Fuck. Okay. What were we talking about? Oh, that's right. This deck list isn't actually a CEDH list in mono green. Sorry to disappoint. I had some fun trying to build that list. The link to it is in the description. But my usual table sits in like the challenging casual range, and I don't really feel like flashing in a stacks piece on every turn is the right vibe for my Tuesday nights with my friends. Our main win condition here in this deck is to control the board by playing creatures with removal, card draw, or mana abilities on our opponent's turns, not on ours, to keep them down and get ahead when our upkeep comes around. So like the average medium impact version of this strategy goes like this. Let's say you're in seat 1, you play a land and pass as much as possible, just play green, draw, go. And let's say that your opponent in seat 2 over here plays a Necropotence. Oh no, so much card advantage, oh no! Flash in green slime on their turn. Counter the last activation and destroy it. Bolas' Citadel or Winter Orb. Oh no! Flash in Manglehorn. Destroy it. Dead. No more. Then keep up your mana during the other 2 players' turns, and on seat 4's end step, you can play an Elvish Mystic or some other mana piece, and now you'll have an even easier time messing up your opponent's next turns. The real game plan here is to keep flashing in cheap creatures with Death Touch or creatures that pump your board to discourage players from even trying to swing into you in the first place. These are cards like Deadly Recluse, Skullwinder for Death Touch, and Primal Force Mage or Thunderfoot Baloth for instantly pumping your board. They'll never see it coming. But Cass, I hear you whine pathetically. All of these creatures are so easy to remove and they aren't even that big. How will I survive attack? And to that, I have this to say. Don't touch me. Hey. Whoa. Don't touch me. Yeah, don't touch me. Hey, whoa, yeah, don't touch me. La 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 la. Don't touch me. With all the death-touching creatures we run, Finn the Fangbearer is also a very reliable win condition. Later in the game, Ronus the Indomitable or Surak and Goreclaw can also set you up for an alpha strike and win the way that every green-playing Timmy has ever wanted to. Our library has a huge majority of creature spells. That's our commander's main synergy, right? So another good way to keep the other players down is by punishing them for doing anything other than playing creatures. Who's the green player now, huh? Who's slow now, huh? Who's checking their phone for 15 minutes while everyone else takes their turn now, huh? That's right, it's you, Blue. Get used to it. Thorn of Amethyst will make playing any non-creature spells a little bit harder for everyone. This includes you though, so be careful about putting this one down too early. You'll want to wait until you have a grip full of creatures in your hand and enough mana to interrupt 3 other people's game plans. Heartwood Storyteller and Runic Armasower also discourage your opponents from doing anything at instant speed. The extra card advantage you'll get off of a table of non-green playing players should effectively turn one of these into a green and bad version of Rhystic Study. One of my worst nightmares as a green player is other people having creatures that are much bigger than mine. Ugh. Eldrazi, God. That's why we run Maze of Ith in this deck, to stop anyone from swinging into you even if they can evade your venomous board of critters. Ghost Quarter, Field of Ruin, Demolition Field will all stop your opponents from accelerating on mana very quickly, or at least from playing good dual land bases. It really is a shame that there isn't a green Blood Moon, because that would really just make me even more insufferable. Okay, so it's not exactly the same thing, but unless your opponents are also in monocolor, they're in for some real pain. We know that we have plenty of creature removal as long as those creatures try to swing at us, but what about artifact and enchantment decks? For that, we have this suite of removal including Manglehorn, Reclamation Sage, and Silverback Elder. The Manglehorn and Silverback will keep your opponents down continuously as long as they stick around, so you won't get locked out by some Enchantress deck or overwhelmed by somebody looping Dockside Extortionist and going off with infinite mana. This is as close as we get to Aura Shards without dipping into white at all. For those times when you need a creature gone but your opponent isn't dumb enough to swing into you, we have Ulvenwald Tracker and Orin Frostfang to force your opponents to interact with a Death Toucher on your side of the board or perish. If you need Graveyard Hate, Scavenging Ooze or Scavenger Grounds can stop those Reanimator decks from cheating something heinous into play. And I mean, you'll really be doing the table a favor, because who does that? Just a terrible gameplay experience for everyone all around. Getting a 9-mana creature on board turn 3 is just a smack in the face. It's like we aren't even playing the same game anymore, you know? Go back to playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something. It just cuts into the heart of anyone who likes this game. It's disgusting. It's abhorrent. I'm fucking sick of it. God damn it, Razaketh. I would never play these cards. I would never be a black player. I'm not! Another part of the control game in a multiplayer format is never letting your resources go to waste. You'll want to be able to snipe away your opponent's game pieces, but also take advantage of their fear when you can by climbing ahead on your board when they are too timid to play into your removal. This is why we have some creatures with activated abilities that will get you card advantage and keep you generating creatures, or protect your creatures when they get targeted. Duskwatch Recruiter and Nylea Keen-Eyed can help you dig through your library for even more creatures, and they can even help you cast those creatures more easily, as we can see on the backside here. Aestheticism and Sereth Viper's Fang can both save your board during an opponent's turn as well, preserving your little guys until they reach a critical mass to swarm all over the rest of the table. Ovia Pashiri and Destiny Spinner will both threaten your opponents with a massive board of creatures if they don't force you to interact on their turns. Ovia can help a lot in the early game by setting up a massive late game swing with your Surak and Goreclaw or Thunderfoot Baloth as well. So you've got 100 different dang dudes in your damn deck, so how are you gonna dig deep and get this game done instead of doling out dastardly Death Touchers, dirtling, dragging, and getting dogpiled at the end of it? Luckily for you, we have some tutor effects that can get what you need right when you need it. Yasan the Wanderer Bard is the classic way to find increasing threats from your deck every time your turn comes around. Seeing as one of our win cons is a creature that costs only 2 mana, your opponents will have to act pretty quick to stop you from poisoning them to death. Fierce Empath is going to get us some big boys, itty big boys, itty the pretty boys with the just the big boys. This will likely find Thunderfoot Baloth to take someone out, Alternatively, if the artifact player is going off, you can get Bane of Progress to make them, like, relax and just get back to nature, man, you know? If you find yourself getting focused down, this can also get you a Dawnglade Regent, because if you're playing this deck right, no one is going to want to swing into you and get the Monarch back. Moanvoli Beast Tracker is here to help you find Finn, but if you aren't going for a win yet, it can also find Skullwinder to pull something up from your graveyard. There are also a bunch of cards with Trample and Reach that your tracker can track down for, like our Baloth friend. Or you can get Deadly Recluse or Thornwheeled Archer if you want to threaten someone with a ton of flyers. Woodland Bellower has some more restrictions on him. You'll notice that they can't grab anything legendary, and the card you search for has to be 3 CMC or less. This can get us some of the pieces we just talked about and some card advantage pieces to dig for more creatures. It can also get us a Wirewood Symbiote to protect Jaina at instant speed in case of a removal spell. The really fun thing that astute viewers might notice is that Woodland Bellower can get either of the other tutors we already talked about, and Fierce Empath can find Woodland Bellower too. So this means that if you find any 4 of these creatures, there is a reliable line to find a win with either Finn or Thunderfoot Baloth. What if Yeva dies, though? So, our deck is really good at telling people...
No touching.
No touching, just like the Arrested Development bit, get it? But people really don't like being told that in this game. They're gonna want to touch you.
Nope.
So that means that you need a lot of protection for your creatures, and green does not yet have a versatile counterspell, which means that... Oh, Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? Okay, well, we aren't running any of the green counterspells, which means that we're trying to give them hexproof or return them to our hand, with effects like Dawnglade Regent and Temur Sabertooth to get around our opponent's targeted removal. To save some of our pieces from board wipes, we have Aestheticism to regenerate some things, or Tyvar's Stand and Tamiyo's Safekeeping to make Yeva indestructible. We also have one redundant effect for our commander in Vivian, Champion of the Wilds. We will always be flashing. Always stay flashing. You ever play Mega Man 2? I love Mega Man 2. We will definitely want to be refilling our hand with as many creatures as possible if we're going to try and cast 2 or 3 spells per round. Luckily, there are some great pieces that reward us for casting creature spells like Beast Whisperer and Soul of the Harvest. We also have some little guys that reward us for swinging wide, like Oakham Adversary and Orin Frostfang. Plus, they both have Death Touch, so they make really good blockers. Glade Muse is another critter that really wants you to play anything at instant speed. This is a great synergy with Yeva, since having this and, let's say, a Beast Whisperer out means that you can say draw go and draw 2 cards every time you cast a creature. Radagast the Brown is also a great payoff for playing a creature during everyone's turn. The other similar effects that let us dig for creatures are Duskwatch Recruiter and Vivian, who we just talked about. Garrick's Uprising is some incidental card draw on top of being able to combo nicely with Oyiva Pashiri, and enabling Trample for our big stompy win condition. So many of our creatures run double duty in this list, I'm just really excited for it. In fact, the best example of this, kind of a multi-tool card in our deck, is Glorious Sunrise, which will get you one of the following during your turn. An extra mana, an extra card draw, since we are mono green and big, or an Anthem and Mass Trample if you're going for a win. You're never really going to gain 3 life on your turn. Come on, no, seriously. Hey, be real. Is 3 life ever worth it? You really want that instead of a card draw? No. No. You don't want that. The pieces that get us a ton of value on our opponent's turns are the Mana Dorks and Wilderness Reclamation. Refreshing your mana during your opponent's turns is so busted with Flash. You're just going to have access to 3 times the amount of mana as everybody else without even playing ramp spells. Elfish Archdruid and Karametra's Acolyte will end up tapping for at least 2 or 3 mana with Yeva out, but probably a lot more. Another way you can make your mana base explode is by using Wirewood Symbiote to untap one of these, and then recast the creature you bounced on your next turn. There are a ton of situations in which this goes mana positive, so you can just dump your entire hand and ambush your opponents right before they declare attackers. Gwenna, Eyes of Gaia, is a decent value piece that has the chance to untap itself and be useful again on the next turn. The rest of our mana acceleration are pieces like Caged Sun, Defiler of Vigor, Nylea Keen-Eyed, and Rona's Monument, which all reduce the cost of our critters, as well as making them bigger for our attack step. Gauntlet of Power is also a notable inclusion that is better in competitive play than in casual, because everyone else will be playing green in casual, but green is awful in CEDH, so you don't have to worry about accidentally ramping your opponent's mana for them quite so often. There are also a ton of fun utility lands that I really like playing in monocolored lists like this. I just really like the idea that having this colorless mana available and having extra stuff to do with your land base makes you a little bit more versatile. Lands don't just feel like a dead card in your hand later in the game, so that's always fun for me. So the moral of the story is green can do anything it wants in casual. Because everyone else is playing slow, it's like there's no rules. I think what initially drew me to this commander and made me lose 2 weeks of my life hyperfixating on her was her playstyle rewarding my usual creature combo playstyle. Creatures are my favorite part of the game, and having an excuse to play, let's just check the deck list here, 52 of them feels so fucking good. I don't play to win. I play to look at the cool monsters and let them shine in their natural habitat. I just like looking at my little guys. They have cool art. Getting to break the color pie and let my favorite color do something that is usually reserved for the damnable blue and white players is really interesting to me. Most of these cards are under $1, and all of them except a utility land are under $5. So I think that's a great opportunity for any ride or die green players out there to do something other than play Elf Ball or a boring Voltron +1 strategy. You don't have to be playing a Spellslinger deck to make good use of the stack, as it turns out. Thanks for helping us out, Yeva. You're really here supporting the green players, and I love that for you. Hopefully, my fellow stubborn green players, this will bend your brain into thinking differently about this beautiful game that we all play. After all, the color pie, like our forests that we love so much, is a living, breathing entity of which we are all just one part. Let me know if you have similar decks or some obvious includes to this deck that I missed, and please like the video and subscribe if you want to. I have an Etsy shop where you can buy tokens and all that cool stuff, as well as a Patreon where you'll see scripts, early video clips, and vote on what we dive into next on this channel. Thanks for watching to the end, my darlings. I hope you have a beautiful evening, but try and leave quietly. You know, like I said, I've been trying to bring this Kavu home all week long. Oh no.
Still in a dream, snake eater. Someday you go through the rain, and someday you'll feed on a tree frog. It's ordeal, the trial to survive.